I had and thank you, Bill Tobin. I had a lot that I was going to say about our guest of honor, and it's gotten a little later than I thought it might have at this time. So I'm just going to say a couple of things. First of all, we have a gentleman here who dropped out of high school to play the keyboards in his band Wizard, which I think is kind of a neat thing that he did. He's worked for Orrin Hatch, Reagan Bush, both Bushes. He was the youngest ambassador that we've had, I believe, to Singapore. And he got a chance, if I can find it in my notes here, to play the keyboards with REO Speedwagon, and he played Johnny B. Good. He was elected governor of Utah. He was given the Pew Center award that ranked his state, Utah, as the best managed state in the union. And since I don't have my glasses, I can't read the rest of it, so I'm going to stop. Most of you will probably all say, and welcome our guest of honor, Governor Jon Huntsman.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know about you, Bruce, but I think that ties an omen. I think that says something about how we're going to do here in New Hampshire. Thank you. You know what else says something about how we're going to do in New Hampshire? See this comb right here, Ray? That is the omen that will carry it for us, right here in my pocket, everyday campaigning in New Hampshire. Thank you, my friend, for your great service. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, how do you know that you have spent too much time in New Hampshire? When your campaign slogan is live free or die. When you start ordering lobster rolls for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When you start effectuating a New Hampshire accent. We're going to do well in this state. And I just want to put you all on notice. And I'm glad to have representatives from all the other candidates here. Griffin, you're terrific over here with the Perry clan. The Romneys were here. You know what, folks? At the end of the day, this is going to be a hard-fought race for the nomination. But we're all going to stand behind the nominee of this party. Because we're going to win the presidency next year. This country can ill afford to do otherwise. So ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, I like our chances here in New Hampshire. This is a state that loves its motorcycles. There are more riders in this state per capita than any state in America, and as a 40-year motorcycle rider, I like our chances. This is a state that loves its guns. With a name like Huntsman, I say, we're going to do just fine. This is a state that loves its veterans. And when I see our veterans in the crowd, Richard and others here, I salute you all. And thank you. And with two sons wearing the uniform of the United States, I say if they can do what they're going to do, I sure can do this here tonight. Now, I don't want anybody leaving this room without understanding exactly why I'm running for President of the United States of America. No one. I'm running for President of the United States of America because I think it is totally unacceptable that for the first time in this great nation's history, the greatest nation that ever was, we're handing down the United States of America to the next generation less good, less competitive, less productive, and more divided than the country we got. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I was born in 1960. We exported $3 for every $2 we imported. We control 36% of the world's GDP. We own science, we own technology. It seemed that all the Nobel Prize scientists came from the United States. Our manufacturing base as a percentage of GDP was 25%, compared to 10% today. And I say, folks, we've got to get out of the hole we're in. We are stuck. We are like a motorcycle, and I hate it when this happens. You get stuck in neutral and you can't kick it into first gear. We are the most blue sky, optimistic people this world has ever known. This is totally unnatural for us to be as divided as we are as Americans, and for us to be in a funk like we are. And I say, this country needs a little bit of leadership. This country needs a plan. And this country needs someone who can draw from their experiences as, for example, a governor. Someone who took their state to #1 as job creator. Someone who created the best environment in the United States for business. Someone who took their state to the best managed state in America. Someone who got through health care reform without a costly and heavy-handed mandate. And I say, we're here. We're campaigning in this state. We're going to win this primary. And we're going to go on to win the presidency. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a cancer growing in this country. And it is called debt. And until such time as we radiate it, excise it, or cut it out, it is going to shipwreck the next generation. And I say it is immoral. In fact, it's a national security issue. When your debt gets to 70 or 80% of GDP, look what's happened to Japan. As a former senior negotiator between the United States and Japan 10 years ago, Japan today is 120% debt to GDP. They have lost a decade of growth. Ladies and gentlemen, we are too good to allow that to happen in this country. I think it is immoral that we are handing on and squandering the debt of the resources to the next generation and handing down the kind of debt we are to the next generation. And I say it should be unconstitutional as well. This nation needs a balanced budget amendment. The same kind of thing, ladies and gentlemen, that I had as governor. It means you put together a budget, you hand it over to the legislature. By law, it has to be in balance. I mean, it is the will of the people that we begin to move in this direction. But what bothers me probably more than anything else is finding the greatest nation that ever was in an economic hole. And I'm here to tell you, we've handed over for the American people to see an economic revitalization plan very similar to what I did as governor. We brought about the largest tax cut in the history of the state of Utah. We created a flat tax. And it took that state to unbelievable heights in terms of job creation. I'm saying it's time for this country to get the same kind of thing. We put forward a tax plan. The Wall Street Journal has embraced it and endorsed it and said it is the best tax plan of any of the candidates running. Simply put, I am calling for the phasing out of loopholes and deductions and taking rates down to 8%, 14%, and 23%. We can get it done. It's the will of the people of this country to fix our dilapidated and broken tax code. And ladies and gentlemen, on the business side, we're going to take the 35% rate and we're going to take it down to 25% by phasing out corporate welfare, by phasing out corporate subsidies. We can do it on a revenue-neutral basis, just as I brought about tax reform in the state of Utah. We can revive this economy, and I can tell you right now for the younger generation that is here, I want to bring about the manufacturing miracle that we once saw in this country. You see, I believe that we can start making things in this country again. I believe that we can recreate the time in which it meant something to have printed on a product made in America. The Chinese are experiencing some difficult economic times, and I believe that's going to be followed by difficult political times. We have every reason to think that we can recreate a manufacturing miracle in this country. The political will is there. We simply must be smart enough to get that competitive environment that speaks to tax reform and economic and regulatory reform, and finally, the lowest of low-hanging fruit, energy independence. We know we can do it. We have this heroin-like addiction to imported oil. 60% we bring over from overseas. And I say $300 billion that transfers hands from the United States to corners of the world that are dangerous and unpredictable. And I say we can do better than that. We have more natural gas we come to find in this country than Saudi Arabia has crude oil. And I say, how stupid are we? I mean, when is it that we're going to get with the picture, folks, and start transitioning to an economy that speaks to using more that we have here in such abundance? It is affordable, it is accessible, it is better for the air, and it carries huge national security implications as well. The economy we can fix, the economy we can get back on its feet. The second thing I want you to remember about what I'm going to do as President of the United States, and I gave a speech on it today. I believe this nation, from a foreign policy standpoint, needs to be a little more skeptical when it comes to foreign entanglements. You know what I mean? We have fought the war on terror for 10 years. This nation has given its all. And I say it's time, with 100,000 troops in Afghanistan, it's time to bring these folks home. We're nation building in Afghanistan at a time when we should be focused on counterterrorism. We've got a broken nation here at home. I say, why should we be building a nation far away when we need our nation built? And I say, we got to bring those folks home, and in their place, we need to leave behind a strong counter-terror effort. We need to leave behind intelligence collection capabilities, special forces capabilities, and some training component as well. And folks say, well, that's kind of a crazy thought, Huntsman. What about neighboring Pakistan? That's kind of a dangerous and unpredictable situation. And I say, well, listen, I've lived next door to Pakistan for the last couple of years. I followed the affairs of South Asia for a lot of years. But let me just swear with you. Only Pakistan can save Pakistan. Only Afghanistan can save Afghanistan. And as for us, at this point in our nation's history, all I want is for America to save America. Because when we are broken and when our core is weak, which is the case, we don't radiate those values that have made this country great and famous throughout the world. Liberty, democracy, human rights, and free markets. I want to fix our core. I want to strengthen that core. That's our economy. That's our values. Ladies and gentlemen, we can get it done. It's going to take a President A who has spent time in the private sector. Because for as far as the eye can see into the 21st century, we've got to create jobs in this country. We have no choice. We need a president who understands the fragility and the magic of the free market system. Number two, we need a president who comes from an executive position, who knows something about job creation, having run a state, and a state that, moreover, went to #1 in terms of job creation. Number three, I think we need a president who understands this complex and confusing world in which we live. I've lived overseas 4 times. I've been an ambassador for my country 3 times. I'm here to tell you that our engagement with the rest of the world is going to help to stimulate our exports and our economic recovery, and we need a president who understands that component. Finally, let me just say that I'm running on my record, and I want you to see what it is. It is pro-life, it is pro-Second Amendment, it is pro-growth. I want you all to look at my record and see that you will not find somebody who's going to pander. You will not find someone who is going to sign pledges. That I will not do. And you will not find somebody who's going to make a pilgrimage to meet with Donald Trump in New York. But most importantly, I think it's critical for you to get to know the candidates in this race. And the best way for you to get to know the candidates in this race, ladies and gentlemen, is to meet the spouse of the candidate. I'm putting her on the spot, and I told her I wasn't going to do this, but I think it's important for you all to get to know the people I hang around with. So in closing tonight, that is after asking for your support and your vote with the straw poll. We've been up here before. You're going to see us 100 times in the future. And I get the part about having to shake everyone's hand 15 times before you'll finally win them over. That's what I love about the New Hampshire primary. You're dropped into a house party, you're dropped into a town hall meeting. People want to know your heart and soul. People want to know what you're all about. They want to hear your vision for the United States. And then they make a judgment on about the 15th meeting. To help expedite that and to help you know who we are, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the next First Lady of the United States of America, Mary Kay.
I'm honored to be standing up here where so many extraordinary people stood just a few moments ago, and where Molly stood to sing her beautiful song, Thank You, our national anthem. We appreciate that, and we'll remember that. I just want to take a couple of minutes and tell you a few things maybe that John won't tell you about himself, because he's a very humble guy. He's a very humble guy, and doesn't have a big ego. You think with politicians, you expect them not to be humble, and you expect them to have a big ego. And that's something I think is very unique about John, is he's an extraordinarily humble man. I'm thinking, you know, about some of the great things that he brings to this office that he's running for. And I would say right now, as we look around our country and we think, what is the, you know, one of the biggest problems we have is that our country is divided. It's divided like never before. And we were over in China and we were able to watch 10,000 miles away. That is what struck us and got us the most concerned as we watched a country bickering and pointing fingers. And you could see, you know, on the news, we were 10,000 miles away, kind of watching it from a different angle. And I would say that's one of his greatest strengths. I watched him as governor, and I watched him recently as ambassador bring people together. And when he ran for governor, he ran on a 10-point plan that he was going to do. Just as I'm telling you right now with his economic plan. And I will tell you, what he tells you he's going to do, he does it. He did every single thing on that 10-point plan. And when it came time to be reelected, he pulled that out. And he said, if you like #1 in job growth, if you like a country that's best managed, or a state that's being managed as #1, then you can vote for me. If not, you vote for the other guy. He ended up getting all the Republicans, most of the independents, and more Democrats than his Democrat opponent. And to me, that is somebody that brings trust with the people. They know that even if they may not agree with everything that he says, they know that he will say what he's going to do, and they know that they can trust him. And I am really proud of a poll that just came out. And I don't usually look at polls, but this was a very, very special poll. Because I think as you all get to know him, you're going to understand why he won #1 in this poll. And it was the most honest among all the candidates. And I was so proud that honesty is what people do look at him and recognize, because that is an important trait. And everybody up there is honest, but he tends to come out and what he says, I think you know, is what he means. He doesn't pander, as he said. He's not going to say one thing and do another. He is a man of good judgment and good wisdom. And I know that America would know that they're in great hands if they had him at the helm. I want to tell you what is probably the most important thing to me is his wife, and that is watching him as a father of his 7 children. We have 5 girls and 2 sons, 2 serving in the military, and 2 little girls, 1 from China and 1 from India. So 7 total, and I watch him as a father and as an example to these 7 children, and I could not be more proud. And I watched him with our little guys growing up as an example to them about service and always standing up and serving when asked. And I watched 2 little boys grow up, watching their father talk about service, thinking about things that they want to do in life, and both of them chose to serve in the United States Navy. And I am so proud of that, knowing that that example came when those were little boys growing up, watching their father and the example that he was to them about giving back with service. And I know some people have a problem with the fact that he took this last job because it was in another party. And I was very, very saddened when I heard at the last, we were in Florida, where some of the delegates were. And one delegate was sitting there with several people around and said, I couldn't believe what I heard. When he walked out at this debate, several people around said, don't clap for him. He worked for Obama. That, to me, is something that has got to be fixed, and we need to unite together. This man took the job because he was asked to serve. And it is a philosophy he says he will take to his grave, and that is if you're asked to serve in a way that you can make America better, in a capacity that you know that you have an expertise to help, then he will always step up and do it. And for that I am proud, because he has taken that to our sons who are now out serving. And when they go out to serve, they will serve whoever is at president at the time, because that is what they do as military. They salute and they serve. And so I'm proud of the decisions that he's made, for his judgment, for his wisdom, for the qualities that he brings, for his background, and I'm proud to be standing by his side, and I look forward to you all getting to know him more in the great state of New Hampshire, which is the most special state when it comes to politics in the country, and we're honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Now you see why we got 80% of the vote for re-election? First Lady in the state of Utah. I know that Bruce You can't finish an event here without taking one or two questions. I know I've got like 1 minute left.
Grok